Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the show, the Vegan World 2026 podcast. And today's show is dedicated to Allan McDonald, my hero, the engineer who refused to sign the launch papers for the Space Shuttle Challenger on January 27th, 1986. And his executive were pressured by NASA to go ahead and sign it on his behalf. And NASA administrators did that to him. And then the launch happened and 7 people died as a result of that. And of course, this all came out during the Rogers Commission inquiry into it. And he became a hero, actually, for refusing to sign it. And of course, initially, the corporation demoted him for speaking out about it, but eventually they relented once Congressman Ed Markey threatened to take away all their NASA contracts if they continued to demote the whistleblowers in this case. So he became a vice president, and the rest is history. I mean, they worked on the engineering problem that they had with the space shuttle, and they fixed it. In 1988, the launch happened again, and it worked fine. So this show is dedicated to people with integrity, the engineers with integrity. And engineers, typically engineers are working with something that's broken, right? So we are always constantly fixing things and making it work. And we currently have a situation with planet Earth, or spaceship Earth, which is very similar to what happened to Space Shuttle Challenger. We have a situation where spaceship Earth is being asked to go one way, because everything we do on Earth is going to change its climate. We know that now. And so it's up to us to choose what we do. And we are going down one way that is fraught with peril. Okay, so, and I've been saying that. In fact, there is a video that I would like to show you that Jared Bishop made that talks about this.
As we saw from the video on cooling emissions, methane causes by far the most warming for the first 10 to 15 years. And the cooling by sulfur dioxide that comes from burning fossil fuels actually masks warming from carbon dioxide for the first decade or two. So climate scientist James Hansen called this a Faustian bargain, a deal with the devil. What he meant by that was that if we drastically reduce fossil fuel emissions, we also drastically reduce the cooling impact of sulfur dioxide. So net warming would actually increase. Salish Rao, as a systems engineer, saw this as well. So to manage a transition to low animal agricultural emissions, as well as low fossil fuel emissions, he strongly recommends that fossil fuel use be phased out slowly, whereas farmed animals production should be shut down quickly, eliminating the intense warming from methane. So we can see why a quick move away from fossil fuels combined with business as usual animal agriculture would be disastrous. It would accelerate global warming. And remember that 20% of carbon dioxide emissions are caused by deforestation. So in a business as usual animal agriculture scenario, deforestation would also continue, but without the masking from sulfur dioxide that comes from fossil fuels. Of course, methane emissions from fossil fuel production, called fugitive emissions, must also be shut down quickly to get the maximum benefit. Fugitive emissions, particularly from coal mines and fracking leaks, are the second largest source of methane after farmed animals. So Rao proposes a quick move towards a plant-based economy and a slower progression to a clean energy economy.
Okay, now if you look at what the Biden administration is currently doing, they are focusing just on fossil fuels. Okay, now I don't mind focusing on fossil fuels, provided you're also focusing on reducing animal agriculture. So let's see. So there was an article in Guardian today saying US has been urged to cut 50% of emissions by 2030 to spur other countries to action. And they are focusing mainly on cutting fossil fuels by 50%. Fine. If you're going to do that, then we better cut animal agriculture by 90% or 100%, okay, to compensate for what we're doing there. But if you're not going to talk about animal agriculture, if you're not going to do anything about animal agriculture, then this is a warning I'm issuing to the administration as an engineer, just like Allan McDonald did. I'm telling it's not a warning, I'm just telling them, look, you are going about it the wrong way. Do focus on animal agriculture first. There is nothing that does not improve when we shut down this killing machine that we have going on the planet. Nothing that does not improve. Everything improves if we shut down the killing machine. So shut down the killing machine as quickly as possible, and then let's do this. I'm all for this. Let's cut down the fossil fuel emissions by 50% by 2030. Yes, let's do it. But do it while cutting down the animal agriculture as soon as possible. Okay, please. This time it's not 7 people who are going to be killed. It could be 7 billion people who will be killed if we don't do this right. Not to mention all the animals on the planet, all the plants and all the, everything is at stake here. Because by now we need to know that everything we do affects the climate. Everything we do affects the climate. So it's important what decisions we make right now. Okay. So I'm appealing to engineers in the administration. I don't know who's there. I don't know which engineer is willing to speak up. But please speak up. Because we know this. Okay? We are powering down machines. And we know how to power down machines as engineers. You have to do a sensitivity analysis, a global sensitivity analysis for each machine, and decide how you're going to power these machines down. So we have the killing machine and the burning machine. And we know we have to shut down the killing machine as quickly as possible. Okay? This is not complicated to understand. And, we have cut half the trees on the planet over the last 10,000 years. And we have proliferated cows, goats, pigs, sheep, etc. to be the equivalent of 9 times the biomass of all the wild animals that lived 10,000 years ago. That is what the killing machine has done. And we need to shut that down. We need to bring back all the trees. We know that. Okay? And it's not something that you do after you shut down the fossil fuel machine. You have to shut it down before. Or alongside. Shut it down as quickly as possible. So get it to, if you're going to cut 50% of emissions by 2030 from fossil fuels, cut animal agriculture by 100% by 2030. It has to be much more than what you're doing to the fossil fuels. Otherwise, we are going to increase the heating, the global warming on the planet. So that's what Jared Bishop just explained to us. And it's in our white paper. So go read up the white paper. It's on our website, climatehealers.org, and you will see this. Okay? So in memory of Allan McDonald, let's do this right. He showed us the way. He showed us what engineers with integrity are all about. Okay, so he took a risk when he did not sign, and he did get demoted. But of course, the story ended well for him, but it didn't end well for the 7 people who died on Space Shuttle Challenger. So this time, let's not risk the lives of 7 billion people doing stupid things like that. Okay? So we know what to do. So you have to shut down the killing machine as quickly as possible. And if anyone wants to debate me on this, I'm here. Come, talk to me. Let's talk about this. So, as I said, there is nothing that does not improve when you shut down the killing machine. And I want to show a video of doctors Aisha and Dean Shazai, who talk about this. Everything in your body improves. Not just your body, everything in the planet improves if we shut down the killing machine.
Here we have a study that showed that 44% of stroke can be prevented without any pills, without any vitamins, with lifestyle, with just food. An average physician sees a patient every 15 minutes, and you're supposed to either give a pill or cut. As a surgeon, you cut. As a general practitioner, you give pills. To do lifestyle change takes a lot of work. You have to connect to people. You have to spend some time. And it's not a one-time endeavor. It's maintaining that relationship, that coaching. That's never taught in medical schools. In any medical school, they never teach you nutrition, and forget about behavior change. So that intimidation for a person that's done 4 years of college, 4 years of medical school, 4 years of residency, then fellowship, after these 15, 16 years coming out, and then somebody saying, oh, everything you learned is wrong or not enough. Now you got to do a whole different thing. And by the way, we're not going to pay for it.
When we did statistics and factor analysis, the items that stood out as being protective for our brain, and in this study we found out that it reduced the risk of stroke by 44%, were all plants. Vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, whole grains, legumes, and you get a low score if you eat meat, dairy, poultry, and sources of saturated fat. So it was the same thing over and over, comes back. Plant-based diet, whole food plant-based diet seems to be very helpful for the brain.
Let's take stroke. A person comes in with what they call hemiparesis. One side of the body is paralyzed for stroke. They come to the emergency room, they get checkup, CT scan, $1,000, MRI, a couple of $1,000. ER stays several $1,000. ICU stays several more $1,000. By the time they're done, they've spent anywhere between $20,000 to $40,000. And after all that, guess what they get? Here's an aspirin, and here's a cholesterol lower medicine. It can't get more cynical than that.
Food is the most important environmental factor for your brain. You have to give it that wonderful environment for it to grow and thrive.
Here we have a study that showed that 44% of stroke can be prevented without any pills, without any vitamins, with lifestyle, with just food.
And the concept of prevention was never a part of neurology and neuroscience. But we have been able to work on that. Our research shows that you can prevent Alzheimer's disease with a whole food plant-based diet.
We call the system we have, which is important, the sick care system. It's important, but it's at the point of disease. Isn't it worth it to invest in prevention? The reason people don't do it, because the system is not set up for it. And when the system is not set up for it, the people involved will never address it.
My husband and I, Dean and I, decided to focus on brain health and create this field. And I think we coined the term preventive neurology from there on.
We looked for alternatives, and we found the same model in heart disease and cancer and diabetes. Why wouldn't it apply to the brain? The brain is the same system, but a little bit more. I mean, this little 3-pound organ, which is 2% of our body's weight, consumes 25% of body's energy, but it still consumes energy. It is a vascular organ, but a lot more than other organs, 400 miles of vasculature. So it's the same mechanism, but much more so. So if the lifestyle factors affect cancer, if they affect heart disease, why wouldn't it affect the most energy-hungry organ in the body? And it does.
When you're in the field of neurology, it's a very depressing field because there is no treatment. There's millions and billions of dollars spent on very myopic models of the disease.
But it has to do with the food you consume 3 to 4 times a day. For the hungriest organ in the body, that everything you feed it is either poison or medicine.
So there you have it, folks. It's the same thing for the planet. our brains are clogged with money at the moment, and we're not thinking straight. If we think we can just go ahead and shut down the fossil fuel engine without doing anything about animal agriculture, without helping farmers transition from animal farming to plant farming, I mean, all those things have to happen simultaneously. In fact, it has to happen at a much faster pace. We have to get the economy into being a plant-based economy, even as we are shutting down the fossil fuel engine. So this is same thing that happens to our human body is happening to us as a human species. Okay? And fortunately, people are beginning to realize that. Okay, so there was a news item that Dorit sent me a couple of days ago, saying that a hospital in Beirut, Lebanon, has transitioned to being completely vegan. And to me, it is great to see that a hospital is finally admitting, finally saying wholeheartedly that the food they were giving their patients was causing a problem. Okay, so this is Hayek Hospital, and they are the first hospital in the world. They claim to be the first hospital in the world that is going to be offering exclusively plant-based vegan food to all their patients. Okay, and their reasoning was that there is an elephant in the room that no one wants to see. When the World Health Organization classifies processed meat as a group 1 carcinogen and red meat as a group 2 carcinogen, the same as tobacco, for heaven's sake, then serving meat in a hospital is like serving cigarettes in a hospital. So when the Centers for Disease Control declares that 3 out of 4 new or emerging diseases come from animals, when we know that adopting a plant-based diet has been scientifically proven not only to stop the evolution of certain diseases, but also reverse them, we then have the moral responsibility to act and align our beliefs with our actions. So they're saying they have the courage to look the elephant in the eye. Now, my question is, why is this the first hospital to do it? What are all the other hospitals doing? Why are they serving food that hurts their patients? Is it because of money? Have we become so cynical that we are willing to have people come back? We want return customers. So please, it's about time that we get serious about our role on this planet and who we are as a species. And so every hospital should be serving vegan food by default. So the default has to be vegan. If someone goes and asks for meat because they have some need for it, whatever, their doctors can determine at that point and prescribe it. But Hayek Hospital should not be a standout. It should be the first, but every hospital should be doing this. So if we did that, then society will get the message, right? Every human being will get the message that they should be doing this too. And then I think we can sign on to the Biden administration's program for shutting down the fossil fuel engine by 50% by 2030. But before you shut it down, you have to shut down the killing machine. The killing machine that's killing animals, they're killing the planet for unnecessary reasons. Okay? So let's get the fog out of our brain as a species. And let's start doing the right thing. Think clearly. Okay? This is why we call people meatheads when they're not thinking clearly, right? Because they're not thinking clearly when they eat that kind of food. And so, there is a lot of money involved. The entire economy is a Ponzi scheme that is basically founded on animal agriculture. So think about it, right? If we cannot say we are superior to animals, how can we say we are superior to people of different color or to another gender, right? So human supremacism is the bedrock on which all other supremacism flourishes. So human supremacism is the bedrock on which white supremacism, male supremacism, European supremacism, all these supremacisms, they rest upon human supremacism. So as long as we support human supremacism, we are supporting all the other supremacisms. So fundamentally, I'm saying, when you support human supremacism, when you say I have to eat animals, I have to be superior to animals, I have to put them in a zoo, experiment on them, do all these crazy things that torture these animals, then you're basically supporting colonialism. You're supporting racism. You're supporting sexism. All the other isms. You're fundamentally supporting it when you support that. So let's eliminate it at the root. Okay, so we have to change the foundation from animal agriculture to a plant-based economy. And when we do that, everything improves. Everything improves, and then we can shut down the burning machine. But if we do it in the wrong order, we are launching a Space Shuttle Challenger disaster. And this time multiplied by a factor of 1 billion. So let me be very clear about that as an engineer. Okay. So, and there is going to be consequences for this because it's out there. Everybody knows. The white paper is out there. Jim Hansen wrote his paper, a few years ago, the Faustian bargain paper. So he knows it. So why aren't people in the administration listening to him? So that's all I wanted to say today. I'm pretty emotional about the loss of my hero, an engineer who had the guts to stand up and say what's right. And may there be more and more engineers like him. Okay. I'm going to call on the engineering profession, wherever they are, if whatever power you have, please speak up. Please go through the white paper, read it, ask me if you have any questions, and let's get the word out on this issue. Okay. So thank you all very much for this.